Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Jason Romano. We're going to get started in a couple of minutes. We're going to let a few more people pile in, and then we'll get rolling. All right, well, let's go ahead and get started. A couple little housekeeping items, just so y'all know, your microphones are open. So if you have any questions, feel free to chime in. If you'd rather just go ahead and type something in the chat, I'll be monitoring that, and we'll be able to ask questions throughout today's session. So let's go ahead and get started. So hi everyone, thank you all for joining us today. My name is Jason Romano, Senior Account Executive at Prescriptive Data Solutions, and I'm excited to welcome you to today's webinar. We've designed this session to provide you with actionable insights and valuable strategies to navigate some of the challenges in today's rapidly evolving IT landscape. Before we dive in, let me share a little bit about Prescriptive Data Solutions. We're a Texas-based technology solutions provider, and our focus is on helping organizations modernize and optimize their IT environments by delivering solutions in data center infrastructure, network security, and cloud transformation. We also have a managed service practice to help deliver a complete solution or enhance your staff. I'm joined today by Joe Galvan, our data center practice lead. Joe brings extensive experience helping organizations streamline their IT operations, reduce costs, and future-proof their infrastructure. We intentionally kept today's webinar to 30 minutes out of respect for your time. So while we won't have a chance to dive deep into every topic, our goal is to give you enough clarity and insights to spark further conversations. We'll be discussing how rising VMware licensing costs and other changes in the IT landscape are creating the need for new strategies. Joe will walk you through how NetApp's innovative solutions can help you mitigate risk, optimize costs, and modernize your environment. We'll also highlight our PACE assessment. This is a no-cost evaluation that provides valuable insights into your environment, helping you identify opportunities for efficiency and improvement. That said, I want to be clear. I'm not here today to convince you to work with Prescriptive. Instead, we're here to see if we're a good fit for your organization and to see how we might be able to help you achieve your goals. At the end of the session, our hope is to start a conversation, whether through a PACE assessment or discussion about your organization's strategic objectives. Some key takeaways from today are going to include practical strategies to reduce costs without sacrificing performance, modernization approaches to ensure your IT environment is future ready, and real-world insights from successful implementations that we've done. With that, I'll hand things over to Joe Galvan, who's going to lead us through today's discussion. Joe, take it away.
Thank you, Jason. I'm Joe Galvan, the Data Center Practice Manager here at Prescriptive Data Solutions. I'd like to walk you through everything Jason mentioned today with the general backdrop of modernization for IT and your environment and particular things you may be experiencing. So kind of a general problem statement within the market today, right, is there's a lot of things that are legacy holdovers, or maybe things where costs were different. We kind of, Jason mentioned the Broadcom and the increased costs perhaps around your core licensing for that product, but also looking at different aspects of that, right, where perhaps you have some spend that could be spent elsewhere, right? Maybe you're not realizing the full potential utilization of your existing resources, or perhaps other resources may serve you better for those investments. A lot of things that we see within the environment, you may be on a life cycle and buying VMware infrastructure, your compute, and your storage, and maybe that's needs to change given the licensing changes. So, as Jason mentioned, the idea behind this presentation and what we'd like to kind of engage you with and think about doing with us is performing this assessment and walking through that the PACE assessment to kind of understand some of those things. We've had a track record of being able to work with several customers, including two that will be highlighting throughout this discussion, and the things that through this assessment and the analysis, things that we're able to do to help improve their stature. So the first customer is a large commercial enterprise with sites across the US, many remote sites. They were, with the Broadcom changes, kind of looking at a big impact, right, in terms of all these sites having to be relicensed and perhaps the licensing availability changing, right, which types of licenses were available and what those costs were. Another one of our customer that went through this process with us had concerns around rising cloud costs, as well as significant costs associated around backup and disaster recovery. So I'd like to take a moment to talk about kind of the methodology of the assessment. First of all, we try to capture a holistic view of the environment through a collection, and really the goals are to right-size the IT spend, making sure that we're not only analyzing the workloads in the infrastructure, but also analyzing the needs of the business and the needs of those operating it. Also, as obviously a hot topic issue, is the VMware optimization and modernization, right? Where that's kind of a changing landscape, and there's an impetus on time to maybe refactor some of those things and help keep those costs down as the licensing is rising. Again, the idea behind this is a comprehensive engagement process where we follow the structure of that and work closely with the customer to walk them through that, right? As we're doing the assessment and understanding our findings, following up with things like a workshop to really go through that and have the customer's voice in what we're capturing before delivering the final results. And that's extremely imperative, right? That this is a highly collaborative approach that we like to take to make sure we're taking your needs into account. So as far as the what's included in the assessment and kind of a generalized timeline, we start with the customer kickoff. We do kind of a cursory site survey to take kind of a high level inventory and target this. That's going to allow us to understand the things to target within this profiling and collection. Once the things are identified that we'd like to collect and are most important to you as an organization, we run NetApp's Cloud Insights data collection, and we like to really run that between 14 to 30 days, and ideally 30 days. I have more on that here in a minute. Then in the background to you, we go through an initial data analysis and really start to kind of look at the detail of the workloads that you're running, how your infrastructure is being utilized, facilitating those workloads, and getting a better understanding of what that looks like, at a very detailed, but also summarized and aggregated high level, to come back to work with you and your team to do two 4-hour workshops to really go through those results together, right? Again, getting the feedback from you, understanding what these workloads are and the importance to your organization. Once we conduct those workshops, feel like we have everything well discussed, we will deliver those results in the form of a presentation or proposals, or maybe a little bit of both, to go through that, right? To kind of have the final findings presented and review that with you and your team. Why we feel like 30 days is important. One, you may have different things that change within your environment, right? So always want to make sure we capture peak usage, right, to understand the full envelope of under which we would need to perform. But also, there may be some potential for cost savings where you have workload variance, right? Maybe you need some burst stability, some different things that can do that to understand if you're running at a high level of utilization infrequently, and then maybe much lower in a normal run state. There may be some things that we can take advantage of to provide better solutions and also reduce costs. So before I get into the sample reports, I did want to quickly kind of follow up and go through a couple of customer stories that I mentioned at the beginning. The customer that was a large enterprise and spread out, through this process, we were able to help them consolidate their hundreds of remote sites into lesser remote sites, and then also give them more optimized as they're refreshing hardware, give them a better aligned core count for those remote sites. In addition to working with them on that, we're also working with them to do similar things in their primary data center while they choose to remain with Broadcom and vSphere in order to be able to run things similarly to the way they do today, but also do that in a more optimized fashion. Second customer that we worked with quite a bit is a little bit more interesting. Again, they had come to us with concerns around the rising cloud costs, as well as significant costs associated with backup and DR. And we really dove in with their team, did the collection, but then looked at the individual workloads. And in covering the individual workloads, we realized there was a lot of file data that was running on individual VMs, right? And so with this, they were tying up, tier one compute and storage for a non-intensive workload, and they wanted to look at a way to reduce that. We worked with them as well as NetApp, and we went through a lot of different options. We finally settled upon using Azure NetApp Files, which is, if you're not familiar, a way to host these files within an Azure offering in the cloud. It's also available in other flavors in other clouds, but this was specifically NetApp. And also locally cache those files for performance and latency reasons, right? So while they were able to have this data in the cloud and have some more intelligence and some more availability, they were also able to have that data locality for the kind of the hot parts of the workload, to where there wasn't a difference in performance on-prem. So what this did is several things, right? So one, it reduced their spend on primary storage and compute. It also gave them a little bit better protection and availability in the cloud. I should say significantly better availability and protection in the cloud. One, by having that replicated across 2 regions within Azure, and then also being able to do snapshots for protection, right? And have those in also 2 regions, right? So that they have, additional copies, 2 primary copies, and additional copies within 2 regions in the cloud. And this helped them to reduce the backup and DR costs, making those files highly available, no matter if an on-prem data center went down or not. The other great benefit of it was that they could significantly shorten their backup window by reducing the amount of data movement that had to take place. If you think about traditional backups, you're doing a full read and a copy, or maybe even a differential and a sometimes full. We were able to eliminate that data movement, right? And come up with a better, more efficient approach that also reduced the costs and gave them a more granular recovery point objective.
Hey, Joe, if I could jump in real quick, do we have any like approximate cost savings from either one of these examples, or?
Yes, yes, absolutely. I apologize for leaving it out. So for the customer number one, where it was more around the reduction of or optimization of their remote sites, many remote sites, and kind of the core count alignment, they realized an annual cost reduction of 15%. And in customer number two's case, where really we treated files entirely differently and much more efficiently, we realized a 40% savings in terms of their annual spend.
Thanks.
Absolutely. So jumping ahead a little bit, as we went through and talked about kind of this collection, I wanted to show you some examples of the type of data that you would get out of this. I apologize, it could be a little hard to see, a little sometimes difficult to share on a PowerPoint, but both for storage and for compute analysis, kind of two different things. The storage is going to focus more on things like latency, IOPS, the density, where your hot points are within those storage systems. This will be a very detailed and granular report, right? Again, the idea being behind it, we want to look at every nuance of it in order to have a better insight to do it better and reduce cost, or just even reduce cost. Same thing on the compute side, right? Each CPU will be, or each VM will be completely profiled, right? Every aspect of it, so that we have an understanding: is this VM truly right sized? Is it being utilized within the boundaries of what we consider optimized? And I would jump ahead on that for a little more detail. So as you can see in this example, you kind of have a density graph here, where in the lower left quadrant, you're seeing lots of things that are underutilized, right? So everything within this, I believe it's purple rectangle, is not meeting our optimization thresholds, is defined by 35% of CPU or 30% of RAM, right? Meaning if something's using less than that, that VM probably needs to be resized, simply put, right? We would like to see that operating envelope be between these thresholds. So it may seem a little bit simplistic, but once you start counting up the dots, which represent the VMs, that can have a significant, as you can probably deduce, significant impact on your spend, and not only on the underlying infrastructure, the compute and storage, right, but also for the licensing, right? As you bring down the cluster level licensing as a whole, specifically driven by vCPU, as Broadcom has dictated, you can realize savings both on the software licensing and on the hardware and associated maintenance, and so on and so forth. And then lastly, we like to represent this type of optimization, and again, these are all just examples, where we are taking things like, hey, maybe you have some oversized VMs, right? Maybe that is because you're over allocated on vCPUs that are not being allocated, and taking a more cloud-like approach, right, to run these a little hotter, refactoring those for less core counts, the core counts that they actually kind of need based on the profiling of those workloads. So in this example, there's a significant the monthly cost savings, right? This is a very large organization, obviously, with the counts there on the vCPU, but we like to make sure that this is communicated in dollars, right? That we can have an idea of what the financial impact of these changes and recommendations mean. Went through that fairly quickly, but in conclusion, the most important points, right? We would like to offer this assessment for anybody who is interested. Dive right in at zero risk to you or your organization. I will mention that at most we're seeing about 16 hours on your side, on the customer side, as far as your level of effort, right? We can do it maybe less than that, but that's where that's kind of the higher end of what that engagement would look like on your side. We're doing the work in the background, going through the reports with you collectively, and really offering to do that without a lot of risk to you, right? In our minds, it can only be of benefit. Again, all of that is to drive aligning spending with your business, make sure those are aligned, and then optimizing your infrastructure and your VMware licensing to make sure you're maintaining or improving performance to the desired levels while also reducing costs and being financially conscious of that. Again, the process for this is a structured engagement. Again, we've done this before with customers with a good amount of success. Every customer is different, right? That's what makes it fun and unique. We really enjoy doing this from a standpoint of it gives us a lot of visibility, and it will give you a lot of visibility that you may not have today. And then we all get to run through it together to make the most sense of it and what types of actions might be good based on this information. And last, I'll close with the, again, it's a highly collaborative process. We try to minimize that by doing a lot of the legwork and coming ready with the information at hand, but then do want to make it collaborative from making sure your voice and your understanding and history with your environment is brought to light in everything that we do. And we're taking that into account because that's immensely valuable for all parties involved. And with that, I will pass to Mr. Jason. Thank you, everybody, for hearing me out today. I really appreciate your time.
Great, thank you, Joe. Hey, we promised to make this a 30-minute session, but we've got a few extra minutes for questions. So I'll go ahead and open it up. Does anybody have any questions before we wrap up?
Hey, Jason, this is Sergio. How can customers move forward with this? Is there a registration process, or they reach out to you, or what's the next step?
Yeah, thanks for that, Sergio. Yeah, we will follow up. By the way, everybody that attended today, we've got these fancy little coolers. Our appreciation gift for everybody that was able to join today. But we'll be getting back with you, and then we can either schedule a one-on-one session. We can have a quick call just to kind of assess where you are, maybe where you might need help, and then obviously we can come out there and then kind of dive deeper into this assessment. But we'll make it easy for us to connect after this call. Any other questions? All right, great. So thank you all. Thanks, Joe. Excellent presentation. Thank you all for spending part of your day with us. I hope this session gave you a valuable insight in navigating your VMware licensing costs, modernizing your IT environment, and creating a future-ready strategy. So as I mentioned earlier, the webinar is just...
Hey,
yes.
Jason?
Yeah.
Pardoning to interrupt, there's another question in the chat.
Oh.
Sorry to interrupt your ending there.
No. So give me a second. Okay. Yeah. So the question is the cost of the consulting engagement and the value add purchase or a separate function? So this is a no cost assessment. There is no obligation to run this type of assessment. So it is it's zero risk on your part. Any other questions? Got a few more.
Absolutely.
There's another one in the chat.
Yes, and also Daniela was asking, and the customers do get all the data at the end of the workshop. So the reports that Joe showed, those will all be yours at the end of the assessment. And again, there's no obligation or commitment on your part to do anything beyond that assessment. So if you just wanted us to come in and just kind of run assess your current environment, we're happy to do that. Obviously we'd like to earn your business on any kind of future projects, but that's on us to earn your business and for you to have a requirement or need. But there is no obligation for us to come in. Any other questions? All right. So I think that's about it. Again, thank you all for joining us today. We look forward to continuing the conversation and partnering with you in the future. So I will be reaching out to everybody individually so we can figure out how to get your cooler over. And then if you wanted to go and schedule a one-on-one with Joe, myself, and some of his engineers, we can go ahead and get that scheduled over the next couple of weeks. Thank you all for joining us today. Y'all have a great rest of the day. Bye.
Thank you.